The metal in the sky was still glowing when I found her. I was checking the fence line behind my cabin, near the edge of Colony Post 9, when the whistle of falling metal cut through the night. It hit the dry field a few hundred meters from my house and threw up a wall of dust. I grabbed my flashlight, thinking it was a supply drone gone wrong. It was not. Half buried in the dirt was a pod, its hull cracked open like an egg, and crawling out of it, coughing, bleeding from her shoulder, was something that had never walked on this planet before. She was tall, thin, with skin the color of pale copper, and eyes too large for her narrow face. She wore a torn flight suit covered in symbols I did not recognize. When she saw me, she froze. Her hand went to her belt, to something that might have been a weapon, but her fingers were shaking too hard to use it. I raised both my hands, slow, the way you do with a spooked animal. "I am not going to hurt you," I said. She stared at me for a long moment. Then, in a voice that cracked with pain, she spoke words I could not understand. A small device on her collar flickered, and after a second, broken English came through it. "Please, help. They will find me." I did not know who they were. I did not know what she had done, or why a starship had spit her out over my quiet little farming colony. All I knew was that a wounded, terrified stranger was kneeling in my field asking for help, and I was not the kind of man who could walk away from that. "My name is Daniel Pierce. I am not a soldier. I am not important. I run a small maintenance shop for colony equipment, and before that I spent 6 years in the Border Response Corps, patching up damaged transports on the edge of human territory. That part of my life I thought was over." I helped her into my house, laid her on the couch, and did what I could for the wound on her shoulder. It was not a bullet wound or a blade cut. It looked like a burn from an energy weapon, cauterized and ugly. She flinched when I touched it but did not pull away. "What is your name?" I asked. "A.L. Sarah," she said, then seeing my face, simplified it. "Sarah." "Okay, Sarah, you're safe here, for now." She looked at me like she did not believe those words could exist together. Safe, for now. In her world, I would learn later, those two ideas rarely met. Over the next hour, between the wincing and the shallow breaths, she told me pieces of her story. She was a navigator on an Imperial scout ship, part of a vast interstellar power that had been mapping and cataloging frontier species for centuries. Humanity, she said, was listed in their files as a minor, non-threatening species, worth observing, not worth fearing. But Sarah had seen something she was not supposed to see, an order, given by a fleet commander, to erase a small settlement of another species, one the Empire had decided was no longer useful. She refused to help carry it out, so they tried to erase her instead. She stole a pod, jumped through a damaged relay point, and crashed here, on the one world in the sector too small and too unimportant for anyone to think to search. "They will still search," she said. "I have days. Maybe less." I sat back in my chair and thought about that for a long moment. Outside, the wind moved through the wheat fields the way it always did, calm and endless, like nothing in the universe could ever touch this place. I almost believed it too, until the first patrol ship broke the sky 2 nights later. It came in low, sleek, and silent, casting a long shadow over the colony square. Loudspeakers crackled to life in a language that meant nothing to most of us, then shifted to English, cold and mechanical. "Attention, inhabitants. We are searching for a fugitive of Imperial law. Any assistance in her capture will be rewarded. Any interference will be considered a hostile act." People gathered in the square, murmuring, afraid. I stood at the back of the crowd with my jacket pulled tight, watching 3 tall figures step down from the ship's ramp. Their armor gleamed with a metal I did not recognize, and their eyes swept over us the way you look at livestock, not people. One of them, clearly in command, stepped forward. His voice carried easily over the crowd. "We know she is here. Hand her over, and this colony will not be harmed. Refuse, and we will take her regardless. The outcome for you depends entirely on your choice." Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I felt my heart pounding, but I also felt something else, something steady settling in underneath the fear. I stepped forward, out of the crowd, and the commander's eyes locked onto me immediately, as if he already knew. "She is not yours to take," I said. A ripple went through the crowd behind me. The commander tilted his head, almost amused. "You would risk your colony for one alien woman you have known for 2 days. I would risk a lot more than that," I said. "But you're not going to find out what, unless you keep pushing." He laughed, short and sharp, and turned to his soldiers. "Search the settlement." That was when I made my choice. I did not shout. I did not threaten. I simply reached into my jacket, pulled out my old comm unit from my border corps days, and made a call I had not made in 3 years. This is Daniel Pierce, service number 417, requesting emergency contact protocol for Colony Post 9. Imperial vessel is on the ground. Hostile intent confirmed. There was a pause, then a voice answered, calm and familiar. Pierce? It's been a while. Say the word. I'm saying it, Owen. What the Imperial commander did not know, what almost nobody on this quiet little farming colony knew, was that Colony Post 9 was not just a colony. It was a listening post, a quiet outpost built along the edge of human space precisely because it looked like nothing at all. No weapons, no defenses, no military presence, just wheat fields and small houses, and ordinary people like me. That was the point. Beneath the grain silos and the water towers sat a relay station connected directly to the Border Response Fleet, a rapid deployment force built for exactly one purpose: responding, fast and without hesitation, whenever a human settlement was threatened. It had been quiet for years. Some people forgot it even existed. I had not. 10 minutes after my call, the sky changed. Human ships dropped out of hidden orbit like a curtain being pulled back, dozens of them, moving with a coordination that made the Imperial commander's confident posture falter for the first time. These were not curious explorers or peaceful traders. These were response vessels, built by a species that had learned, through hard and painful history, that waiting for danger to prove itself was a mistake it would not make twice. The commander's soldiers raised their weapons, uncertain, looking between me and the sky. I did not move. You said you would take her regardless, I said. Go ahead. Try. The commander stared up at the fleet, his composure cracking at the edges. His scanners, I imagine, were screaming numbers at him that did not match his files. Minor species, non-threatening, worth observing, not worth fearing. Every line of that file was suddenly, visibly wrong. This is not over, he said, his voice tight. It is for today, I answered. His ship lifted off in a hurry that did not match the arrogance it had landed with, and within minutes it was gone, jumping out of the system faster than protocol usually allowed. The human fleet stayed in orbit a while longer, a quiet promise, before slipping back into the dark where it had come from. Sarah stood beside me now, having come out from hiding the moment the danger passed, staring up at the empty sky where the Imperial ship had been. I do not understand, she said. Your files, our records. They say humans are small, weak. Why did they leave? I thought about how to answer that honestly, without pretending we were something we were not. We're not the strongest species out there, Sarah. We're not the fastest, or the most advanced. But we take care of our own, and lately, that circle has been getting bigger. You needed help. That was enough. She looked at me for a long time, something unreadable behind those large eyes, somewhere between disbelief and something warmer. Where I come from, she said quietly, no one helps a stranger without wanting something greater in return. Then I guess you're not where you come from anymore. Weeks later, I heard through old contacts that reports of the incident had reached higher levels of the Empire than anyone expected. Not because of the fleet, though that alone had rattled a few nerves. It was the response time. 10 minutes. From a call on an old handheld device to a full deployment. From a colony that looked, by every measure, completely undefended. Somewhere in an archive I will never see, in a language I will never read, I imagine a single line was added to a very old file on humanity. A warning, quiet but permanent, the kind that changes how careful people become. Do not assume this species is what it appears to be. Do not test how far they are willing to go to protect one of their own, even one who is not their own at all. Sarah stayed on Colony Post 9 after that. She helps me in the shop sometimes, learning our tools, our language, our strange habit of trusting strangers who show up hurt in the middle of the night. She still asks me, every now and then, why I did what I did. I always give her the same answer, because it is the only one that has ever been true. She needed help. I was there. That was reason enough.